Let's face the reality, there isn't enough wisdom on social media today. There isn't quality messaging to help young adults and adolescents take comfort in knowing that they're not alone in overcoming adversity, whether it be bullying or fighting their inner demons. Bullying is a subject that I know all too well, as my youngest was severely teased and bullied having Tourette's growing up. Hello, my name is Yogesh Patel, host and creator of the Yog Nation, the Spirit of Gratitude podcast that focuses on bullying, self-awareness, and our inner spirit.
Join me every week as I have heartfelt and authentic conversations with high-profile guests, sharing their own wisdom and experiences on these topics, and how gratitude ties everything together.
Welcome to the Yog Nation, the Spirit of Gratitude podcast on the One Integration platform. Hello, friends. My name is Yogesh Patel, and this podcast focuses on bullying, self-awareness, and our inner spirit, inviting high-profile guests to share their experiences on these topics. And today, my next guest was cut 11 times by 8 different teams before an illustrious career in the National Football League for 18 seasons, having graduated from both Harvard and Dartmouth. In 1993, he was the recipient of the Byron Rizzer White NFL Players Association Man of the Year Award in recognition for all of his philanthropic work. And finally, he is the all-time leading scorer for the reigning Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Nick Lowery, welcome in studio.
Well, thanks for having me, Yogi. Probably every day, multiple times, I talk to someone about gratitude and how it is the magical potion and elixir for all of us as we go through life to stay in a good place and to stimulate the oxytocin and all the other great dopamine-like chemicals that help us feel good about life. So thank you for what you're doing, because it's a contribution, I think, to everybody's day to remember and focus on and be grateful for the things they do have in life.
Incredible. And when you speak of everyone, I assume that also includes young adults, adolescents, and even us adults. Yes?
Absolutely. Well, the sooner you learn it, the better you're off. When we do Champions for the Homeless, which is how we met, and you've been a great supporter, every single time we do it, and we've done it 68 times now in 18 years at St. Vincent de Paul in downtown Phoenix, new volunteers go, "Can I bring my kids?" And I tell them, as long as they're over 5, and make sure you keep an eye out for them, like next to you the whole time. But to be a young person at 5 and 6 and 7 and ingest what it feels like to help a scary adult that you never thought you would ever be able to connect with, and to have power in a beautiful, sublime way to bring a smile and to someone who's an adult, number one. Number two, is homeless, probably doesn't look normal in your field of expectations at the age of 4 and 5, is so powerful. And that feeds that gratitude muscle, that feeds that appetite, and then you search for that the rest of your life. So the more kids can have that experience, it's like being fed the greatest spiritual nutrition possible. And it's an addiction. It's the only addiction that is really good and healthy.
How did you vanquish those inner demons or those voices of self-doubt before kicking game-winning field goals for the Chiefs and the Jets?
Mentors are really important. And if you don't have a mentor, find one. Teachers, parents, siblings, friends. Because that requires some level of humility to say, I can learn more, I can always get better. And the mentor figure throughout all cultures is so crucial. The elder, I've done a lot of work with American Indians. I was actually chairman of the National Fund for American Indian Education back in 2003, 4, 5. And Native American culture reveres the elder because the elder's been there and has been proven only through thousands and hundreds of thousands of decisions, their words aligned with their actions, their humility, their ability to see the connection of all things. And so that to me has really helped me because I had unbelievable mentors. Dick Johnson was the one who coached me in kicking from 1973 till 1989. And from the very first day, first thing he said to me is, I'm walking from my mother's station wagon after she dropped me off at St. Albans School under the shadow of the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., on the playing field at St. Albans. First thing he said, he didn't say hello. He said, did you thank her? I'm like,
really?
Thank her? He said, yeah, she just gave you a ride. And he interrupted my pattern. And from that point on, it was that really a sense of humility, right? Sure. Gratitude, humility, to remember what your parents do for you, if you're lucky to have parents that do that for you. And I certainly really did. And the second thing he told me was, I almost died 2 months ago. I was on my deathbed. And literally, I was going to die. And this kid appeared to me that I hadn't thought of in 60 years, since I was 10 years old, he said. And he stood at the edge of my bed and he said, Dick, you were always there for me when I was being beaten up and bullied. You were the only one that stood up for me, and now it's my time to stand up for you. You're not going to die. This vision appeared to him. And I think when we sow those seeds
Sure.
of thousandfold, we are inoculating ourselves. I didn't want to say vaccinating, but we are giving ourselves the kind of soulful medicine where what really matters always matters. And so that mentor taught me that. And then this third thing he taught me was never give up, and how important the mental side of the game was, how to control my focus. And so I've been so blessed with a school of how to focus, right, no better encapsulated in being a place kicker in the NFL with a tiny target that looks like a pair of tweezers when you're in front of 80,000 people and 15 million on television, who only are going to remember whether you made it and will never forget when you missed, no matter what.
Yep.
And so that forces you to either quit or to keep going and keep learning to manage your state. So all of those things came from Dick Johnson and from mentors, great coaches, great teachers.
What does that look like, though? I mean, again, kind of a blueprint of how we can take what you've said today and have a person reflect on your messaging.
Well, not all of us are going to be place kickers. In fact, very few are. But all of us will need to be able to be at our best in key moments of life. They are essentially the sculptors of our state and our identity, how we look at ourselves. How did I do it? You watch the Olympics, which are going on right now as we do this interview, and we watch some people that are rising. The man that came from behind, the American, to win the 1,500 meters.
That was incredible.
An American tradition of middle distance running is not that great in the Olympics, not at all, and yet he did. And then the third place finisher. But what did come into their being to, in the last 100 yards and even the last 30, 40 yards, grind out and be better than the other best runners in the world. And those are the conditioned responses to, a million different choices one has made to sacrifice and train and get tougher than one ever thought possible, to focus on what one can do and to develop that sort of discipline of, for me as the kicker, keep my head down, left foot at the target, explode, attack the ball, as opposed to there are 11 really, really large, very ugly people with bad breath, body odor. I'm having a little fun here.
Passing gas?
Maybe passing gas. But certainly 11 guys paid millions of dollars who have 40-inch vertical leaps. They're 6'5". They weigh 300 pounds, and all they want to do is block my kick. Well, if I focus on that, I'm probably not going to be very effective. But if I focus on what I can do, that's it in life too. We always get in trouble when we focus on what we can't control, which is other people, other things.
Sure.
Just us. That's it. And that is the lesson that applies every day, every moment, every breath of our lives.
Tell me about a bullying experience where perhaps either you were bullied or you helped a friend that was being bullied.
I was writing about this in my book. It's called Naked and Alone with 80,000 People, because it is such a weird and stimulating and terrifying moment to be running on the field as a kicker in the NFL. But I was writing about failure and just the things that teach us the most. And when we moved from England to Germany, my dad was chief of station for the CIA in England. My dad was literally the chief of station, so he was literally the American M, which I only found out 10 years after he died.
Wow. Classified, I assume?
Excuse me?
Classified information?
Well, we knew he was in the CIA. We didn't know that he was chief of station.
Okay.
And we moved to Germany after 2.5 years in England, we experienced an interesting transition from a British public school with Latin and complicated mathematics and French and, really intense learning, being called by your last name, wearing a uniform and a tie, to the American school. And we started about a few weeks into the term, and I didn't know anybody. And right across the street, a couple hundred yards away, was the Little League field. And I was very tall for my age. I was 11, but I was 5'11", and I started making fun of the people it really wasn't intentional to put them down, but just watching, making comments. And one of those guys was a guy named John Belial. I mentioned it just because it was a real person.
Sure.
And he thought I was in 8th grade, not 6th grade. And my first day of school, he attacked me in the hallway and pushed me down and
because you were making
beat me
fun?
up because I had humiliated him, and who was I? And it was absolutely humiliating. And I was devastated for a day or two. What was interesting was I just kept going, and John found out I wasn't in 8th grade. I was in 6th grade. He was one of the big, cocky athletes there in Bonn, Germany. And I just, over time, proved myself as an athlete. So luckily, athletes have a little bit of a get-out-of-jail card socially if they do well, and that's one of the things that helped.
But why were you bullied, though? Is it?
But to this day, I think that he thought I was really, trying to humble him. I think there was some insecurities there. Who does that? I'm Mr. John Belial. And there's a bully figure. You don't know where he's coming from, where that meant something to him that really was so negative that he had to act out because he was losing face. But one thing we've learned in bullying is almost always the person that bullies has been bullied. Almost always something in their immediate family or once removed, at most, there's been some level of, today we call it abuse, trauma, or just some sort of psychological attack on their sense of who they are, their sense of self-worth, and say they intend to act out to restore that in themselves. And bullying, unfortunately, the biggest problem in bullying, in my opinion, is to create a culture with school boards and superintendents and to protect principals enough that they worry about more than just lawsuits, that they create within that school a sense that everybody's important and respect is important. But frankly, life is tough. And there's the school is called the school of hard knocks for a reason. Sometimes you literally don't grow until you have hard knocks. They may not hopefully be physical hard knocks, but they often, for everybody, usually are psychological hard knocks where you fail a grade, you get rejected for a girl for the prom, but you're feeling yourself out. Those are the battles of the ego we talked about. And the more one grows spiritually, the less it bothers you, the more you realize you have God's spirit in you.
That's right.
That will help you transcend those moments that are lesser than we can become.
Absolutely. Nick, an honor and pleasure to have you in studio.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, everyone.